Hello everybody, welcome back to another round of Rory Story Cubes. Today you'll notice that the screen is actually a lot more zoomed in. Look, this is my entire hand on screen. Because I noticed that the dice were actually quite far away and only taking up like the bottom part of the screen, and the rest was just a gigantic, incredibly cheerful tablecloth that I have. So today we're going to try something different. We're going to zoom in and then hopefully you'll be able to see the dice better and it'll be a little bit more screen filling, hopefully. Who knows? Either way, let's go and grab some dice to start off with. Beep soup. I got 4 of them. That's right, that's the first 4 ones. And I want some of these from the bottom. That's 5 of them. There we go. Fantastic. Put these aside. Now let's try rolling them within this area. Might be a bit difficult. I'll see what I can do. Oh, don't move everything out of the way. All my screen edge things that I'm using over here to tell me where the actual filming areas is. There we go, that works quite well. Here's our unhappy man once again. And this is a dinosaur bone, this is a skull, a radiation symbol, and a jellyfish. Always a great combination. Oops, now the next 5. Oh, okie dokie, here is a circlet. And something that's either missing or plopping or whatever it is. This is a chess piece. This one is for denoting that things are dangerous or dead. And I think, let me just take a look at that. Yeah, this is a guy hiding behind a cloak. Like, ooh, he's got a cloak on his arm and he's hiding behind it and he's got a top hat like that. Exactly like that. Now, as always, make sure to pause your video here to take a look at these dice and then come up with a story of your own and leave it in the comments below so I can read it. Meanwhile, let's take a look what I can make out of this a very toxic story, apparently, so we're going to have something to do with that. Let's see now. Where shall I start? I will start with a prince. There we go. Here's a prince. I'm going to move you guys a little bit further away so I can put a bit more in the middle of the screen. There was a prince once upon a time, and he lived in a place that was far away. And one of the things he loved to do above anything else was play chess. He would play chess with his father, with his brothers, with his uncle, whoever wanted to play chess. And he played chess with them. And another thing he liked to do was collect antiques. For instance, he would go out and have archaeology expeditions. And he would bring a lot of people along who were knowledgeable about that sort of thing. They even went to the bottom of the ocean one day. And that turned out to be quite a problem, I guess, because they found something that looked like a bunch of bones from a dinosaur, but they're actually, when they find them out, or finally pull them out of the water, turned out to be human bones, and the human bones were actually quite irradiated, which made everybody touch them sick. But for some reason, nobody really bothered to remove them, except for one day. They were mysteriously missing there. While people were still sick, they were wondering why the heck there were like these bones at the bottom of the ocean. Who did they belong to? It was a great mystery that our prince wanted to solve, this one right here. But nobody knew where they had gone. Someone had come in and made them disappear. Like a mysterious character had snuck in overnight, apparently, to make the bones disappear. But they went and looked for them anyway. They found them only because people in a certain village were continuously getting sick. And they weren't doing that before, so they were a little bit suspicious of that. So the prince went over there with his, I guess his royal guard to try and figure it out. They broke down a few houses, and they even, played chess with the village elder in the middle who may have seen some suspicious behavior. Like, they asked him if he had seen anybody with a cloak and a top hat or anything suspicious. The guy himself had no idea, but he did know that there were certain people that weren't getting sick, and that was very interesting as well, because they're like everybody in the village was getting very sick, like the radiation sickness. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's not something you want. It makes your skin fall off. It's pretty nasty, but one family did not have that, because when they later turned out to inspect it, they were actually inside a large tank full of jellyfish and all that sort of thing. The jellyfish were absorbing the radiation, and so the people who lived inside the tank with oxygen masks on, obviously, were not, should I say, affected by the radioactive bones. And the reason why they had taken the liberty of relieving the prince of his bones, because they knew, they were scientists, that there was something really wrong with them. and they figured this was the only way to get to them and to research them. And they told the prince what it was all about, and he thanked him for doing the research, but he did actually fine them for just stealing stuff from the castle without telling anybody, because that could have been his more famous bone collection missing. And also they ended up making a whole bunch of people sick with radiation, which is a bad thing, mind you. So they got a fine, but they were thanked after all, and after a while the fine kind of disappeared from people's memories, and people only remember the names of the people who figured out what the mystery was behind the skeleton in the water. So that was that. Mystery solved. That was the first story. I'm gonna go put these guys aside, put them over here for a second. There, you won't see them. I'm gonna grab more dice for the second story. Yeah. Reason why I don't have a bag yet for these things is because I simply haven't had the time to make them. Let's see, here's 5 of them. That's your elephant's back. And so is that weird thing. Well, there's a lever. Who knows what we'll get? Let's see, I think I've got 5 in my hand. I'll just take the first 4. Yep, that's right, this one's going back. There you go, you can go sit over there. Alright, let's go and roll these dice and see what we can come up with. The first 5. Oh, there's a hair. Right, there's somebody who looks suspicious of something. This is an L for learning to drive. Someone inside a tank, which you've had quite a few times already. And there's a couple of band-aids, and there's somebody saying, stop, hammer time. Alright, next 4. Oh. And our helmet's back from last week. I was going to say last year, but it hasn't been that long. And this is a B, and this is a bubbling cauldron. We also got that one last week. And this is, I believe, Saturn. Rings of Saturn? Yeah, that's right. So, once again, make sure to pause the video here to take a look at these dice and come up with your own story. Make sure to post it below. I'd like to read them once again. Now, let's see if I can come up with something with this one. Once upon a time, there was somebody who wanted to learn how to bobsled, because it's not a container, it's now a bobsled. One of those things. It's not really a bobsled, it's one of those one-people bobsleds that you lie down in. I can't even say the word. I don't know what they're called, but you know what I mean. They're like the Olympic ones. Anyway, he wanted to learn to do that, so he went to his instructor to teach him. And that went fairly well. He had a few incidents where he kind of missed the track in some cases. And then he got hurt, and he didn't like that very much. So he had to start all over again from a certain track. But even though he was getting fairly good at it, he was a bit annoyed that he wasn't getting better faster, because he wanted to be ready for the next Olympics, and the previous Olympics had only been a short while ago, so he had like 4 years left to train, and then he wanted to be on the roll to represent his country, but he wasn't fast enough. At least he didn't think it was fast enough. His trainer decided he was fast enough for just picking up the skills in general. But yes, if you want to be on the Olympics, you do have to do a little bit more than the average things. So he went and sought somebody out who would be able to help him, and this person was a mystic of the olden days who liked to wear old armor to make him look like more authentic. I don't know, some people like to think that. He also liked to divine the stars, and he told our bobsledding friend that if he wanted to get he wanted to get good, pretty much, he would need to come back at a certain time when Jupiter and Saturn were in conjunction with each other. I don't know if that's possible, but it's just what I'm going to say, because even our bobsled friend didn't know what it was that he was talking about, but this guy pretended like he did. So he believed him, and he came back exactly 3 weeks later, which is apparently the time denoted by the guy. Also, there's somebody really noisy outside. Please go away. Anyway, now that guy's hopefully disappearing. So he came back exactly 3 weeks later, because that's what the guy said he should do. And when he got there, there was a bubbling cauldron already. And the mystic informed them that he had already included most of the ingredients. That was a whole bunch of bees and a couple of wasps, because they wanted to generate some speed for him. He also needed to give the man some blood, so they cut like a small cut in his hand. His right hand, by the looks of things. That looks like a right hand. Is that a right hand? If you put it like open, yeah, then it's a right hand. Never mind, it's turned up. So he had to make a little small cut in his hand, and then he dribbled the blood that came out into the potion, and it poofed. And after a while, it was ready according to the mystic, so he gave it to our bobsled friend, and he drank it, and he went back to bobsledding, like that. And he was so good that even his trainer was suspicious. Now he's a suspicious trainer. See, this was now the suspicious trainer. Anyway, so he was suspicious that maybe the guy was on drugs. So they went and had him checked out. He got sent to the hospital, had a whole bunch of samples taken. They couldn't exactly find any drugs that they were familiar with, because the potion is undoubtedly something they had never checked for. But still, they weren't sure what was going on. Nobody improves that fast in just a day. So they decided to make sure not to let him enter the Olympics, because whatever it is that he was doing was probably not legit. So he was very unhappy about that, this guy. And he stormed out of the training sessions like some kind of bat out of hell. And he never was heard from again. At least not in the mob-hunting community. Alright, so that was that story. Somebody who went and did the cheaty thing and not actually learning or taking the time to learn and wanting shortcuts. Remember, kids, that's something you don't want to do. We're going to put these aside as well so I can grab 9 new dice. Oh, that made a lot of noise. And here is, hopefully some dice we didn't get last time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, ooh, 7 in one go. A lot, so I need 2 more. That'll be you and you. These two. Alright, let's roll them and see. There we go. This is a rocket ship and a puzzle piece and a torch. This way? Okay. Safe, kidoki, somebody talking, speech bubble, and the next 4. Oopsie daisy, this is a sloth, like that, and a bird cage, and somebody who's either run into a really small person or somebody who's run into a giant, and once again our friend the Minotaur is back again. Alright, so make sure to pause the video here once again, come up with your own story, post it below, I'd like to read it. Meanwhile, I'm going to take a look what I'm going to do with this mess. There's a few things that I can connect somewhat. Let's see. First thing you always need to do if you're wondering how I'm able to do these things within just a few seconds is just take a dice and get started. So that's what we're gonna do. Once upon a time, someone came to our planet. This one first, and I do like to use that because it's one of those things you can just throw in there, whatever you like. This person turned out to be very small. His name was Bob as well, just like the clown from last week, or the other guy, the guy with the flag, I don't know who it was. His name is Bob, because that is an interstellar name, and he came to our planet to check out what was going on over here, and he wanted to figure things out, like what's up with our planet, and he thought the best way to do that was to go on an adventure on Earth. So he went around and he looked at places, he went to some dark caves to see what was there, and in some cases he found treasure, which he would then crack the safe and take it with him. And sometimes he would find an exotic animal, like this weird thing that was hanging in a tree. And initially he would try to talk to it, thinking that maybe this was the most dominant species on the planet, but it didn't reply. So instead he just put it in a cage and took it with him. Sent it off back to space, to his home planet, to be investigated. And one day he was doing really good, actually. He'd sent quite a lot back to space, and he was getting a few reports back on how interesting it was, all the things that he had sent along, and they really enjoyed his work. He came across something that looked a little bit like this, and it was not friendly. But he had an answer to that as well. He just took the torch, and he showed it into the creature's eyes, and it was blinded momentarily, which gave him the opportunity to take his rocket ship and go someplace else, and come up with a new strategy. So he sent a communication back home saying, I have this really big creature over here, what do I do with it? It's very aggressive, it doesn't want to talk to me, so I don't think this is the dominant species. I mean, it's dominant physically, but I don't think that it's the actually intelligent species that's responsible for all these skyscrapers and things that I see on my map. So what do we do with it? Well, the people back home thought about it for a while, and they sent something back in the shape of a really tall person named Fred. And Fred didn't really know what to do at first. As you can see, he's scratching his head like, what am I doing here? That's because Fred was very big and strong, but he wasn't very smart. So Bob said, you know what, come with me, I'll lead the way. And so he did, and they eventually found the Minotaur once again, because they learned the name in the meantime. And Fred was like, oh, that's easy. And so he took the Minotaur and threw him up into space. This is now a Minotaur. And he was never seen again, the Minotaur that is. And that made the people of Earth so happy that they went and gave him a whole bunch of gold and things because the Minotaur had been terrorizing many a neighborhood in the time that it has been here, because Minotaur they are mythical creatures and they probably don't die just like normal people do. Agent died, that is. So he was now the hero, Bob was. And Fred, of course, because Fred was the one who actually did it. Bob just called in the help from afar. And then they went and had diplomatic relations with each other, and we had an international trade network, or interstellar trade network, I should say, which made a lot of people a lot of money and taught a few things, and there was like communication back and forth, teaching us things that we never thought possible. So that was that, interstellar trading and getting rid of pesky minotaurs. That was 3 stories today, once again. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope your stories are going to be as much fun to make as mine. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.